This is a picture of Lorraine Joyner in 1993, and this video is the story of her familiarity with the events concerning the deaths of Bonnie and Clyde. Lorraine was a major historian, and I'm going to show the back of every one of these pictures because she explains exactly what the picture is. Before we get into the entire story, we're going to give a brief photo show here. This picture was dated May 1992, and the front of it was it says on the here where Bonnie recovered from burns. These were burns she had received in a car accident. She apparently stayed at this motel here. This is Lorraine's writing. All these will be in Lorraine's writing. This is another view of the motel here where Bonnie and Clyde stayed. Here we have another picture of Lorraine and her daughter here with the woman in the third. I'll explain here, her writings are on the back of this picture. This picture was taken in 1991 in Wellington, Texas. The lady in the middle is Gladys Cartwright. She is a woman, she was a child when she was accidentally shot by the Barrow Gang when they were trying to escape from the law. Here's another picture of Lorraine and Gladys Cartwright together on one of Lorraine's numerous trips delving into the history of Bonnie and Clyde. Here's the explanation of the picture in Lorraine's own handwriting. This is a picture of Lorraine's grandfather who served in the Confederate Army during the Civil War. You will hear her refer to him, and you'll see his grave in the process of the interviews. And where was he captured?
Stand by.
Yeah. Where was he captured at, or?
He wasn't ever captured.
Oh.
But he served 2 terms in the Civil War. One, he was recruited out of Monroe, and another one he recruited out of Alexander. I've got all those papers.
Huh.
See, it's not many grandchildren of Civil War veterans left. It's a bunch of great-grandchildren. The reason I'm a grandchild is because he was 40-something years old and had been married, and he married my grandma, and she was 16. And they had 10 kids. And that made her young enough to, she had my mama.
Mm-hmm.
Which made me the granddaughter.
Of Lorraine's father-in-law, John Joyner, who was the contact man who coordinated the ambush of Bonnie and Clyde between the Texas authorities and the Louisiana law officers. Here we have a picture of Lorraine and Bill Joyner, her husband. Now, her husband was the son of John Joyner of the previous photo. Here we have a picture of Lorraine Joyner and her daughter Sue there, and the house in the background is the house that was built with the bounty money from the setup of the killing of Bonnie and Clyde. It is the only picture of this house remaining, I was told by Lorraine.
Lee Joyner. I bring up that Lee because I'm from Robert E. Lee. They claim all Lees wants to come from Robert E. Lee city. And my folks claims we did. And then I'm the daughter-in-law of John Joyner, the one that set up the killing for Bonnie and Clyde. If it hadn't been for him, it wouldn't happen the day it did and the way it did. This house was built with the money, the bounty money, that John was paid to set up the killing for the state of Texas.
Now is that window, huh?
Well, I got 3 of them, and there's nothing else down there. And this was about 10 or 15 years ago. The man that bought the land, see, it was 80 acres of land that he owned. Look, let me get you a picture of the house.
Okay.
See, I gave you these pictures of,
No, I don't think I have. This is a window here that was made, it's all that's left of a house that was made from the bounty money that, Now, what about Henry Methvin and Bonnie and Clyde came here first, right? After they...
I don't know how soon they came here, see, because
Uh-huh.
just like I'm telling you, they separated that day
Uh-huh.
out of, when they come out of Huntsville. All them other prisoners, he put them out. And at some time or other, Henry stayed down in Texas, and he worked, and I don't really know that timing and all that kind of stuff. And the deal I told you about Beaumont, that him and one of them was there. If I could, they robbed a station. That should be written up in some of those records back then with finding them, just like I told you, see, who the outlaw was. He told us who he was, but I can't remember if it was Bobby or Palmer or... Now, Palmer come on here to Louisiana with Henry. Did I give you a copy of those pictures that Tom Jr. gave?
Yeah.
Have you got a copy of those pictures? Did I?
I believe so. I made the deal with the Texas Rangers here, and here's his. That's his wife on top, right?
Mm-hmm. That was like 2 weeks before he killed her.
That's his wife there.
The last time I saw her, she gave me that picture.
Uh-huh.
And I can't find another one yet. And that's the only thing in all of my pictures that it shows just a small portion of that house. Because I never made any connection with it all down through the years. Because these three Joyner boys sold that property. When they all came back from World War II, they was all broke and going with, everybody was going his own way. And that 80 acres of land was sitting way down yonder in them woods, below the hideout, close to where the Methvins lived. And the three Joyner boys sold the land.
Now these next pictures will be series of pictures of Henry Methvin, the young man that ran with Bonnie and Clyde and was responsible for getting them set up by the law authorities. This young man, Lorraine Joyner personally knew, and this will be a story about their knowledge of these affairs. Here we have a mug shot of Henry Methvin. He had gotten in trouble very early in rural Louisiana. Now these next pictures were procured by Lorraine herself through a lot of work, so I will put the proof of this in a letter form here. Here we have a side view of that previous photo. Here's the letter about her procuring these pictures from Huntsville State Penitentiary. Here's another picture that I procured from Lorraine showing what a good-looking man Henry Methvin was. This is a key picture in the video. It shows the house where Henry Methvin met Lorraine when she was just a little girl. And I'll show you the back of this in her own writing. Now this is what was written by Lorraine on the back of that picture. So I'll give you a little time to read it here. But it just says, house where I lived when Henry Methvin came out of McAllister at the penitentiary to John Joyner's, May 1942. And there's her signature on the bottom. Here is a picture of Henry Methvin with Clyde Barrow and Ray Hamilton, famous bank robbers of the era. How Henry got to be involved with these two fellows will be the meat and potatoes of this video. Before it's over, you'll know what he was doing with these people and how he got there with them. Here's a famous picture of Clyde Barrow and Ray Hamilton. These next few pictures will be just members of the Barrow gang that were running in Louisiana at the time, Bonnie and Clyde. Here we have Ray Hamilton, a mugshot. A short-lived glory, running around in a suit and tie. Most criminals of the era spent probably 99% of their time like this, behind bars wearing pinstripes. Another member of the Barrow Gang, Joe Palmer, here at one of his numerous arraignments. Now, he also ran in Louisiana at this time with Methvin, Ray Hamilton, and Clyde Barrow. Now, here's a shot of Henry. You'll notice the chains around his neck. That's Floyd Hamilton right there in the foreground, Ray Hamilton's brother. Here they are at one of their numerous arraignments after this Bonnie and Clyde fiasco was being sewn up. Now, these items were removed from Ray Hamilton's car during one of his numerous arrests. You'll notice the hand grenades in there. This is how these gangsters traveled around at the time, heavily armed.
Have some of these that are still in Cosmoline that, as far as we know, have never even been fired from when they were manufactured. You can see the stock on this one doesn't match the Ford stock.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember how much these things weigh, but they're pretty heavy.
Could you sort of hold one and, like, you know, where like you're firing it, just to, you know? Okay.
See why they put bipods on the front of these things, because it's hard. It'll take quite a man to stand there and hold this thing up, take good aim with it.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a few magazines in there. And then you saw the ones that we had in there that had the bipods on them, and some of them have magazines on them. All the ones that look at this new gray on here, like this parkerized surface, are the ones that have been reconditioned for World War II. You can see on here it was manufactured as a model 1918, and then it's been restamped as A2 is restamped on it. So we also have a couple of Swedish-made BARs. No, none of those upstairs I think are, but we have a Swedish BAR. It was made by Sweden.
Off shotguns found in the car. Now, here is another mug shot of Henry Methvin, one of the last ones taken of him. A mug shot, that is. Here we have the newspaper article about the conviction of Henry Methvin. Now, this is a picture of the house that was on the Cole estate where Bonnie and Clyde were hiding out at the time they were ambushed. Notice there are the hats and some of the other items there, supposedly keepsakes of theirs. You'll be hearing a lot more about the Cole house in this tape. We have a video. Of pictures there were the Cole house, the ruins of it as they are of in 1993. Now, this segment of the tape now will focus on the actual ambush. In the interviews with Lorraine Joyner, she will be talking about the different houses and how they were used. It's a picture of Bonnie here. Here's a picture of Clyde. You can notice in the last two pictures how they're beginning to get a little bit of a rough look to them. This segment also has an interview with one of the Methvins. This photo here is from the Criminal Hall of Fame. They're wax figures there. These are wax figures of the ambush that were in Arcadia, Louisiana in 1994. Here's the final picture here of Henry, who led them to the ambush. Sounds like no love lost here.
thought you'd be one more round.
Louisiana here, and this is where the Methvin family, the family that set the Clyde barrow up, was from. And as you can see here, I'll zoom in. Here's downtown Castor and timber industry.
Got paroled and came to Mendon.
Yeah.
Well, Lane still lived with his mom and daddy.
Okay.
They all worked at the Louisiana Ordnance Plant. And of course they had just a 1 or 2 room apartment. And they took Henry in, and him and Lane slept together. That was in '42. And the hideout deal is right through yonder. John and them built, John's place was right down through yonder, about 3 or 4 miles. And where all that took place. And
what was it that took place there?
where the Methvins lived and the Joyners lived.
And you say, what relation are you to Robert E. Lee, the Confederate general?
I don't know, we come from a cousin or something.
Uh-huh.
They claim. Okay, this is my one brother. I'll show you where he lives. Where
Okay.
he lived. It was my daddy's he's the one I told you lost everything Daddy had. Alright. He died, Bill died May, Bill died in March, and brother died in October the same year. I let him start running that store, him and his wife. He had got burnt out. His business was burnt out. And I let him out. She's a Cajun from South Louisiana. There's her. She's not dead. But anyhow, that's my we see the old part where is up yonder. That's where they started. But anyhow, when my mama died, well, me and Daddy decided that we would start us a new plot, because all that old stuff was filled up, see. We moved, this was a new part thing.
Okay.
And then here about 4 or 5 years ago, that was opened up. And that one, he shot her, and then shot himself. He shot her through the heart, shot himself through the head. We had the funeral. It was an old church right yonder there, and we held the funeral there. And we put them there.
And what,
me and Bill, we bought, well, all the boys went in together and bought that tombstone, and I thought this up. I said, let's put their marriage on it. And that was the first tombstone in this cemetery that I can remember that ever had their marriage date, and all of them nowadays put their marriage date on.
And what relation is this to Bonnie and Clyde again? I'm sorry.
He was paid by the state of Texas to get old man Methvin to stand on the side of he was the hit man, the behind the scene hit man.
And what relation are you to him again?
My husband's daddy.
Okay, and that's his
Sue's grandpa.
And
she was the only the one that you see him standing there holding the little baby.
Right.
That's her in 41, and the killing was in 42. The Bonnie and Clyde killing was in 34.
Okay.
Me and Bill married in 39. She was born in 41, and she was their first grandchild. They had no more grandchildren when they died. No, the rest of the boys didn't have any then. She was the only. She's the only full-blooded Joyner it is to start with. And I'm going to show you one that I bought a tombstone. I got to let Sue move to Shreveport, and she come every day and took care of him, and she took cancer of the breast. She wasn't very old, about less than 30.
That's Stevenson there?
Yeah.
There? Yeah.
And we got her on Social Security, which I had forgot. I mean, I look at them every year and raised with them, but all this, they've cut the stuff, built this road, the timber companies took over, and anyhow, one of those houses sat right there. And then old man Methvin moved a tent. He lived in a tent right around here somewhere, and it was a well. Sue, where did he say that well was? Right down yonder? And Henry got in some kind of squabble with his daddy over the well, and anyhow, this daddy of his, which was old man Clyde, told him he'd knock him in the head with a hammer. I have heard that tale always, and I made him tell him here that day. But anyhow, this is where Bonnie and Clyde came to first, when they was first brought to Louisiana. This is where the Methvins lived. Now they moved on south of here later, and then sometime, and then I don't even know the dates of all that, but anyhow, and then, of course, the officers, everybody knew it, that Henry had broke out. And I think when they broke Henry out of East Town, his daddy was down there getting his release. He was fixing to get him out. Henry had cut a feller's throat in Texas, caught a ride with a feller, cut his throat, took his car and his money. And down in Refugio County, Texas. He was about 19. He'd been out west hunting, picking cotton or wheat or something like the boys did back in, it was about in 31 or 2. And they sentenced him to, I forgot how many years, I got it down on some paper that Bob Pierce gave. Now Henry said, you will read where it says that Henry had served time with Clyde Barra and he knew, but Henry, I don't think, he didn't even know that they was gonna break him out that day. He told us that he was standing there looking at the shooting, the breakout, Raymond Hamilton, Joe Palmer, and whoever them others were. Clyde was there. They had hid guns in a pile of brush where they was clearing that farm. That warden told me and Sue down there this summer at Eastham that they would pile up the brush trying to make farmland, which is all farmland now, see? And they would pile up the brush, and that's where Clyde Barra hid those guns. And he said they have never, Huntsville Prison has never let them pile brush again. When they pile it, they burn it immediately. And that started in 34. But anyhow, Henry told us that they were shooting, they was breaking, and somebody in the crowd, he was seeing it all, and somebody in the crowd said, do you want to go? And Raymond Hamilton said, we don't want that old boy. And Clyde Barra says, yes, we do. Come on, son. And he ran and got in that little one-seated turtleback car. It was about 6 of them, I think, in it. And that's how he broke out. Now, I heard him tell that, and that's the way I think it is.
One of their hideouts, Bonnie and Clyde's hideouts here. Some more of the Methvin family here. Lorraine Joyner just told me. So this is standing here in front of Social Springs Cemetery. This is where the Methvin family are buried. The family that made the setup of Bonnie and Clyde. There's Ivy T. Methvin. 1885, 1946. Says gone but not forgotten. That's the father. That's the man that had the tire taken off his car jacked up, and signaled the law officers when Bonnie and Clyde got there. Here's his son Henry. This is the man that was supposed to have been with Bonnie and Clyde that day when they were in the car, but wasn't. It says April 8th, 1912, April 19th, 1949. It says, we will meet again. And there were circumstances surrounding both of these deaths where they're really not sure. They believe they may have been some type of gangland style slayings of both of these. They were both died. This man here was supposedly killed when a train ran over him. And then the letter here about the father says that he was struck by a car, but they're not really sure. He was either struck by a car and he was badly beaten up. Now,
I believe he told me it's on that video. His great uncle owned this. And his grandpa and his daddy. And somebody put old man Methvin down there in a house. Out here, and just like I said, Joe Cole grew up right yonder, and he ought to know. And he said the marker is approximately at the right place. They were sitting right over yonder. Old man Methvin was parked somewhere down in there, and Bonnie and Clyde came around. You know, I told you I talked to a woman the day you came from Ringo?
Yeah.
Okay, her daddy was a police chairman, and I think she told me he made the motion. His name was Mr. McCoy, and to build the thing here. And I asked her name's Joyce Baggett, and I asked her, I said, do you think it's in the right place? She said, as far as I know, but said my daddy was on the police jury when they decided to put it here. It was much something going on.
Now that again, after the shootout down there, this is we're standing here in front of the Gippsland School here, and Lorraine Joyner here is going to say what happened out in front of.
They stopped and let them view the bodies, let the school kids view the bodies that day as they were towing them to Arcady. See, they come from down there.
Yeah.
They towed them cars. And I don't think them bodies was taken out of the cars till they got them to Arcady, I think. And they come up here and they got on old Highway 80. There wasn't no interstate. They pulled over here, right in here somewhere, and let some school kids come out and look at it.
Block here is one of these buildings here is there was a lunch here where Bonnie and Clyde picked up some food supposedly, and this is downtown Gippsland, Louisiana. And this is where they finalized plans to put an end to the career of Bonnie and Clyde. They bought she had a sandwich on her lap. They believe she got it at a restaurant that was on that block there. On the tape, the black and white tape about Bonnie and Clyde, it has them. That's where they're walking across there, isn't it?
Down that street right there.
They're walking right down this street here on the black and white tape that was made by Ted Hinton.
That's right.
Okay.
And then where that car's sitting,
yeah,
I think was the depot right over here.
and the car was sitting over.
I think. Now I'm not really sure.
The car was sitting somewhere over here.
Where,
this is the old
depot. And it says Arcady on that car.
Now
Henry Methvin.
that's a watch that Bonnie Parker gave to.
April 1934.
Let's get a close up on that.
His mother pawned it to my mother-in-law for $10. Henry was in a death cell in McAllister, Oklahoma, and Ms. Methvin wanted to go see him before they executed him. They shaved his head 3 times and never did kill him. But anyhow, he finally got paroled and he come to Minden where we were. And
okay.
he's the one that brought them to Louisiana. Henry
Okay.
Methvin brought them to Louisiana.
Okay.
Or they would have never got here.
I never did see Bonnie and Clyde. I never did see them. But the evening that Bonnie and Clyde got killed, I used to, that's been a long time ago, I used to take a lot of papers, read papers. So he told me to come go with him. So I went with him. And I didn't realize what a danger I was getting in. I hadn't seen him in 5 years. And but I reckon about a mile down that road. We started down that road. He said, Willie, I can see the Lord from both sides. That scared me. I really got scared then. And so we went on and went to an old house down there. When we got to the house, Uncle I was trying to climb the wall in the house.
He's talking about the coal place.
Yeah.
I know. So I slept that night with that shotgun with pistol on my head and him with a shotgun on his head. And
Sheriff Hughes, Cattle Parish, had sent word that if Henry was not in that car,
Already had it in the newspaper.
He didn't have anything to do with it, Willie?
no, he's out there.
See, it was John Joyner. That's what nobody knew that was going to here to Uncle Ivy. See, they.
Everybody live on? Live. You got safety on that double barrel, Greg. Safety's on probably when you reload it. When I reload it, put it down. Yeah.
are we ready?
Yeah, we're ready. Ain't it? Y'all know when the car starts moving.
Now, you know what he's going to do?
Long enough to get one snapshot of that. All right.
People like that.
I've been out here before, but I forgot it was this far out.
Turn the car off.
Turn the car off.
Got it? Wow. Coming yet?
Hey, I'll pull mine in a little bit.
I see Clyde coming. Morning, Clyde. How y'all doing this morning, Miss Bonnie? You can only imagine the people following that car through town that day. It's like the people
Have Blackie Thompson. You'll hear Lorraine Joyner talks about this man as well. He ran with the Barrel Gang in this area. Here's a picture of Blackie Thompson gunned down. Now, before you get the wrong impression about this area of Louisiana, seeing it's all outlaws, here, this picture was given to me by Lorraine. It is a tombstone of Pat Garrett's parents. The tombstone is very near Lorraine's house. I'll show you on the back her writing. So this area of Louisiana is also known for some really great lawmen. So here you have her own writing here. It says, I know some Garretts in Arcadia. The woman working for Larry Joyner is a Garrett, and her husband is a descendant. He was a very good friend of Bill and me.
I live in Arcadia, Louisiana, about 18 miles from where Bonnie and Clyde were killed in May of 1934. Became interested in Bonnie and Clyde a few years ago. We have quite a bit of memorabilia about their death and their history and everything like that. And it's always a pleasure to share it with anybody that comes by. We don't try to make a huge amount of money off of it. We just try to break even. And we're happy to tell and to do everything we can to help everybody get the real true story about the two horrible people that were killed by our law enforcement officers here in Bienville Parish.
The situation was we discovered a half brother of mine was delivering groceries, supplies, and mail to various outlaws and elements of this type up in Bossier Parish, even here in the Bienville Parish. And we discovered this just prior to the apprehension of Bonnie and Clyde that led to their demise here in Bentonville Parish. I was approximately 13 years, 4 months old when we discovered my brother's involvement. And things have been unraveled to us, and had the opportunity to see Frank Hamer, Ted Hinton, Sheriff Jordan, and Deputy Prentice Oakley at my father's house discussing the situations prior to their demise, and that's the involvement that I had.
All right. A copy of Henry Methvin's obituary that was given to me by Lorraine. Now I'm going to read you here, this was a suspicious death here. It says, according to the coroner, the train started moving out of the station while Methvin was under it, and the wheels passed across his shoulder, killing him instantly. So that seems suspicious there. It said Methvin had apparently tried to cross the tracks by going underneath the Southern Pacific passenger train, which had stopped at the Sulphur station. Now here's an interesting photo from the period, although this doesn't involve the Barrow gang, it involves the Dillinger gang here. Here we have a man who's facing down a criminal who killed his brother. You can see the anger, and you know, this is, here you see the sisters of the criminal here. They're sad because the man has just been sentenced to death. So it's a total family tragedy, a life of crime like this. This next series of pictures will deal with the men, the law officers that were in on the ambush of Bonnie and Clyde. There to the left there is Prentice Oakley. You'll hear Lorraine mention him. He was an Arcadian, Louisiana police officer. On the far right there, right beside Frank Hamer, the Texas Ranger smoking the cigarette there, that's Henderson Jordan. And Prentice Oakley and Henderson Jordan were the two officers from the rural Bienville Parish that were in on the setup of Bonnie and Clyde involving John Joyner and the Methvins and the house on the coal estate. You'll hear Lorraine mention these two names a lot. Now, this is an overview of all the police officers involved in catching Bonnie and Clyde there. You can see the two I previously mentioned, and then there are 4 others involved. Frank Hamer, Manny Galt, Bob Alcorn, and Ted Hinton. This is a close-up here of Frank Hamer and his car there. He's chasing down Bonnie and Clyde, going to all their stops, trying to find out how they move, where they are. Now this was Bonnie and Clyde's favorite picture here of themselves. They almost look like a couple out for a Sunday afternoon picnic. Less flattering is this one. This is the one that was on the reward posters. It's one of the men here that was in on the shooting there that day. That's the Oakley plot.
He's the one holding them car tags in them pictures that come out of Clyde's car.
One of the Henderson Jordan grave right there. You can see it in relation to Gippsland. There, or in relation to Arcadia. There's Arcadia down in there. And up in Henderson Jordan, the plot here. Try to zoom in on it here.
That's World War I. See, he's in World War I. He's the same age as my daddy. He was 1896. He was born. Daddy was, and he died in 58. And when Prentice Oakley died in 57, wasn't he? Didn't that say so, 57?
Now begins a series of pictures showing you what the Depression era Louisiana rural life would have been like. Here we have, you can notice the truck operations here involving labor. Remember, this all occurred during the Depression era. Another picture here of fruit picking in the area. Agriculture, farming, really big in this, and as well as the timber industry. This was how people made their living back then. Here's a mixture of the old and the new. There's a truck there and an old wagon loaded with cotton. Cotton was still one of the major agricultural products of this region. This picture almost looks like it could be in the 1860s, but it was actually representative of the 1920s cotton industry. Another photo of rural Louisiana. These sites would have been common views to Bonnie and Clyde as they were fleeing from the law authorities throughout the areas and looking for new hideouts. I'm just presenting these pictures to give you an idea of what the rural life was actually like back then. The far greater majority of the people were honest laborers, just as represented here. This is representative of the timber industry in the area at the time. This was one of the major sources of income for this area. As a matter of fact, Lorraine mentioned that there was a wood trucks going up and down that road all the time where Bonnie and Clyde were ambushed, and that's one of the reasons why the police picked that area, but they still had to beware of all the numerous logging trucks revealing their position or whatever. Here's a logging camp here back in the woods. As a matter of fact, you'll hear Lorraine mention on one of her tapes about Mr. Methvin being back in a tent way back in the woods somewhere, living beside a shack. This picture was taken in this general area. This picture is representative of the type of gravel road that would have been in this area, as well as you can see the shacks and the vehicles. I'll pan this over this way a little bit so you can see the rural spread here. Now the coal house was back in areas like this, but it was not quite as squalid as this shack is, but you'll see pictures of it later. Here we have a picture of an old Ford or whatever going back one of these back side roads. Who knows, could be a bank robber on his way to his hideout. Could just be a guy going in town for groceries. Here's a similar type picture to the last one. Just showing the scrub pine area of Louisiana. Now this picture is a picture of an agricultural unit for the Texas prison system, just showing what type of work most of the prisoners did there. Supposedly Clyde Barrow and Ray Hamilton were in these groups a lot of times. This was how they spent most of their time, as a matter of fact.
Doug is on fire.